I will say, turbulent times of uncertainty and confusion during this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, and where humanity has been brought to its knees. Many people are fighting desperately for their earthly survival and looking for ways to be rescued so that life can return back to normal. I say normal in quotes. Current events raise questions about how and the why of life. It is high time for deep reflection and a real spiritual awakening of humanity, of how we've reached here and how we can find a way out. For anyone earnestly seeking answers, help is there to discover consciously and recognize and see and actually see how amazing this world of our Creator is. The work In the Light of Truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin, brings us knowledge of the natural laws and the whole structure and mechanism of creation. Through it, we become aware of who we are and of our abilities, allowing us to fulfill our task and achieve our high noble goal. It demands from us that we fully exert ourselves to objectively and logically weigh and examine everything we face. Through this, through this act, it will lead us to our conviction and really having the wonderful experience of freedom and being alive. So, listeners, that's what, when I chose this topic for tonight, spiritual bread refreshes and truth revitalizes and light animates. Those words are actually from the Grail Message, In the Light of Truth by Abrushin. And last week we were close to actually Abrushin's birthday, which is on the 18th of April. And so I felt it appropriate to use these words as the topic. Now, I just want to invite you to join in our discussion. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. The UK number is 07939641958. You can, as I say, you can call, text, and use WhatsApp. Also, you can, if you're outside of UK, it's the same number, but you need to call it this way, contact us this way, which is 0044 7939 641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I just want to read you what is the Grail Message. The Grail Message, In the Light of Truth, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. Directly and speaks to the combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world, the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abrushin. Of my lecture, should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world. Only be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. without changing even one single sentence. Word well presented. The only those people really carry honest desire to find one check the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly. So, dear listeners, just to remind you again, the topic for discussion tonight is spiritual bread, fresh truth, revitalizing life and image. And as I mentioned, this is a quote from the Grail message. You're going to get tonight. So you can join in the discussion by contacting us on this UK number, which is 079 3941 and call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0447939641958. Gregory, spiritual bread. And so the truth revitalized it.
Hello?
Yes, Greg, can you hear me?
Not very clear.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, I'm going to speak louder. Can you hear me now?
Please. Yes.
Okay, so these words, spiritual bread, truth revitalizes and light animates. It's in many ways, it sounds like a mysterious words, because, it doesn't, unless, let's say, you're in that sort of mind of thinking this way, you probably won't understand what these words mean. It's not something you speak every day. So I want to begin with the first few words, spiritual bread. What is it meant by spiritual bread?
Well, thanks for this particular question. What is spiritual bread? Before contemplating spiritual bread, one should consider very clearly the ordinary bread that many of us eat every day. Bread or food basically gives us the energy that the physical body needs in order to operate on its day-to-day activities. On the other hand, if one is considering that which is spiritual, it needs to be fed in quotes. So what does it need for it to have that continuous nourishment, or to have power in order to continue on its activities? That is what is referred to as spiritual bread. Just as you have the earthly bread which nourishes your body or gives you strength, so also we have spiritual bread, gives you the power for your continuous activities.
Thank you for that. And I want to quote from the Bible when Christ spoke about also you could call it spiritual bread. So this is from John chapter 6 verse 47 onwards. Let me just make sure I'm in the right place here. I am telling you the truth. He who believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate manna in the desert, but they died. But the bread that comes down from heaven is of such a kind that whoever eats it will not die. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he will live forever. So, Gregory, that's what Christ said, that he is the living bread, and if someone eats him, he will have eternal life. Is that the spiritual bread that you're referring to?
Your quotation is what John reported that Christ said. In such a report, many times things are not expressed as Christ himself has put it. But one can have a glimmer of truth in it. For when Christ referred to himself as the bread of life, that is correct. For it is the spirit that lives, not the physical body, which was born and goes through an evolution and subsequently a dissolution. That is not what Christ referred to. For the physical body is temporal for experiences here on earth. However, since the spirit is always in various activities, it needs to be nourished. And the message, the word that Christ brought, with the power that goes with it, is the bread that the spirit needs, or is the nourishment that the spirit needs in order to go about its purposes, its day-to-day or its activities for all times.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. And what it leads me to another question, really, which I think is the fundamental issue here. What actually is spirit or spirituality? Because we are not obviously talking about the physical bread which we need for our earthly nourishment. You're talking about a spiritual bread with this, you could say, spiritual need, which is our spiritual need. So maybe we need to understand what exactly is the spirit, or what exactly is spirituality. So can you help us with that?
When spirit is mentioned, one may refer to it as that which activates the physical body. That which activates the physical body cannot itself be physical. It is something finer, and therefore many times it is referred to as the inner, as the core of man. The inner core, which inner core is able to activate the physical body through deep emotions.
And how do we, the thing is, people talk about spirituality, Gregory, without really having a proper understanding. The physical world we are very familiar with. So how can we become aware or conscious of the spiritual aspect of us human beings? Because I would say most of the time we are not thinking about these things. We're just looking for our daily bread, as it says in the Lord's Prayer, and not really, we might wonder about it, but we don't really seem to be really, as you can see things in physics, in the physical world, we can see things very clearly. But the spiritual world seems to be hidden from us, and most of the people would say it doesn't even exist. So how can we really become aware that there is this spiritual aspect of us, and how that it really exists? How can we know that?
Well, very simply, it can be, one can put things together in a very simple manner. That through one's inner capabilities, basically through one's intuition, through one's intuitive thoughts, After all, none of us has been able to see their thoughts. And therefore, do we dismiss that our thoughts do not exist? Therefore, the instruments or the perception or the faculty that one is able to use is that of the intuition. It is that intuition which one is referred to as an expression of the inner personality. So only through one's intuition can contact be made with the earthly intellect. It is the earthly intellect or the frontal brain which sort of acts like an executive director in our day-to-day activity. But that which really activates it, which is referred to as the inner man, that is the spirit. And if one pays attention to oneself, before too long, things will become very clear. So each personality must awaken their own intuition. That means they must allow the spirit, which is the inner core, to be more active and not block those inner impressions that strike it. Very simply, sometimes many a person goes to bed and sleeps, and yet at the same time, in their dreams, they are able to experience many things, even things which have not yet occurred. That only gives an indication, a pointer, that there is more to it than the physical body, which physical body is the outer covering of or the outer material that the inner core use in experiencing.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I'm sort of reflecting on what you've said so far, and I'm just sort of in a way recap what you have said. So, the earthly world or the physical world, I think you've said it is temporal, and
yes.
then there's the spiritual world, or or what animates this our physical body, the spirit, you can say, which is let's say non-material, and it animates the body. You said the spirit animates this body, so
yes.
So that and that is not physical, like we say. So, and that is, and you said we have this intuition, which you could
yes.
we could call it, let's say, the voice of our spirit, and so that is, and this is this. Let's say the spirit is like a driver of our body, and that's what we're supposed to be driving. And then you've also mentioned, there's so many things you said, and I just wanted to sort of bring out all the points that you've said. So, and you also mentioned the intellect, which is, you could say, our, what do you call it, executive director?
Yes.
So that executes, it executes instructions of the spirit, or does it have its own mind? Does it work in?
It executes the impressions that the spirit has passed on to it. So on the outer, we have expressions, and from the inner, we have impressions. If, however, the impressions that come from within are so very weak, then we have the frontal brain acting only on very weak impressions that assail it, and is unable to express correctly the bits it has received. Whereas if, on the other hand, the impressions which has been pushed out by the spirit, the owner of the physical body, If it is well received, then we have beautiful works of art, and we have a sort of balance. For it's only the frontal brain that is able to execute these impressions, and that is why we have expressions, we have after expressions. That is one on one side. Basically, each personality can easily observe that whenever there's an activity, one can say, oh, this is what has happened. These are facts. Those facts cannot be denied. And therefore, when one wants to examine carefully, one will ask, what are the motives? What are the motives behind these facts? The motive, or what we refer to as the emotion, motive and motion, but the emotion, the energy motion, which lies behind this, if interpreted correctly, must have come from the inner man, which is of spirit. Again, one should not forget that these emotions may also be referred to as energy motions. Energy, however, is spirit.
Thank you again, Gregory. From what you were saying again, I'm trying to understand. Basically, the spirit is supposed to, you could say, control the body through you could say, the brain, and it gives him, sends out impressions, which are, let's say, received by the brain, and then forebrain, and sort of turns it into physical material actions. Now, not all the impressions you are saying are being implemented or being passed on or activated. So is that because the spirit is weak and not able to take control of the body, or is there something fault in the body that it can't act according to what the spirit wants? So what is going on? Why it's because you said, like you said, there has to be a harmony between the spirit and the body, and the spirit is supposed to be in control of this body. So why is it that some of these impressions are not getting activated from the spirit into the body? What is there? As I say, is it a weak spirit, or is the body not working properly?
You mentioned a few things. There could be a set of reasons. One of it, the basic one, is when the activity of the spirit is not vibrant enough. One may refer to such a scenario as the spirit being weak and therefore unable to express itself vibrantly, and such that such impressions now make the intellect to act accordingly. Another reason, most likely, is that the activities of the frontal brain are so dominant that when even impressions come, they don't register very well. One of those key areas is when one has formed a habit. When you have formed, in quotes, bad habits, you have it in such a way that even that which is good, once it assails you, you disregard it, even if you have a sensing. So on the one hand, we have excessive activities of the frontal brain. On the other hand, we have a weak spirit, which is not so vibrant as to make the impressions very, very strong on the outside. So you now have, when you combine both of them, you have weak spirits and an excessive intellectual activity, These are the basic scenarios that cause so much trouble. Whatever you use again and again and again and excessively, like a boxer that develops his muscles, becomes dominant. What you don't use vigorously and extensively or intensively becomes weak. So when we have the scenario of the frontal brain used extensively in almost everything without due reflection, then that frontal brain will be developed. On the other hand, when you have that the strong impressions of the spirit, or the scenario where the spirit is not very active, then you grant the opportunity to the frontal brain to take over. So these are the things which each personality must reflect on very carefully. A very simple example is sometimes you act in such a way and you felt, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I had this impression I shouldn't have done this, but anyway, I have done it. As you reflect on these scenarios, it becomes very clear how man should behave. But above all, a clearer understanding has been granted in the work in the light of truth.
Thank you again, Gregory. And I want to take that opportunity to actually read something from the Grail message, very pertinent to tonight's topic. So dear listeners, just want to remind you, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the work in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. And the topic for tonight is spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments. The number to contact us here in UK, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00 44 79 39 641 958. And just to remind you, listeners, you can listen to us, of course, on Bless Radio, which is blessradio.co.uk. You can also listen on YouTube live. Go to youtube.com, then type in the search box Bless Radio, the number 1, Bless Radio 1, then type after that space live stream. So that's Bless on youtube.com. Go and put in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space live stream, and then you can listen to us live. And then after the show, normally the next day, you can hear the recording of this show and all our previous shows as well. You go to, again, youtube.com, then under that, in the search box, type in Bless Radio 1, the number 1, and then type Grail message, and then type the topic of the show. And tonight's topic is spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. And just also, if you are interested in getting more information on the Grail message, or want to get a copy for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Now, Gregory, I just wanted to read this, which is in the beginning of the Grail message, which is just to sort of point out this topic we are having tonight. So this is actually from the first lecture in the Grail message, which is called What Seek Ye, or What Do You Seek, is another way you can put it. And I'm just going to read the first page, you can say. And that is, so I start here. What seek ye? What is all this tumultuous agitation? It permeates the world like a ferment, and a flood of books overwhelms all peoples. Scholars pore over ancient writings, investigating and pondering until spiritually exhausted. Prophets arise to warn, to predict. Suddenly, from all sides, people strive feverishly to spread new light. Thus it rages now over the troubled soul of mankind, not refreshing and invigorating, but scorching, consuming, absorbing the last vestiges of strength still left to the afflicted one in this gloominess of the present time. Here and there also a whispering is heard, rumors of a growing expectation of something impending. Every nerve is restless, tense with subconscious longing. There is a seething and surging, and over everything lies a kind of ominously brooding stupor, fraught with disaster. What must it bring? Confusion, despondency, and ruin, unless a mighty hand tears asunder the dark layer that now envelops the terrestrial globe spiritually. With the slimy tenacity of a dirty morass, absorbing and smothering every ascending, free, light thought before it has become strong, with the gruesome silence of a swamp, suppressing, disintegrating, and destroying every good volition, even but the seekers cry for life, imbued with strength to cleave through the mire, is turned aside and dies away beneath an impenetrable canopy, assiduously set up by the very people who think they help. They offer stones for bread. Look at the innumerable books. They do not animate, they only weary the human spirit. And this is the proof of the barrenness of all they offer. For whatever wearies the spirit is never right. Spiritual bread immediately refreshes. Truth revitalizes and light animates. Yes.
Right. Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can you just talk, please? Talk to us. This reading thing is, I'm not into disrespecting you, yeah? But I'm listening to the reading and I prefer you just to talk to me. What's on your heart? What's on the table of your heart? What's in your heart? Like what Gregory does. Gregory talks what's on his heart. Can you talk to me, please?
I will.
Because some of the things that you're saying from that reading, I'm not feeling it.
Okay.
Yeah, so talk to me from what you have learned. Just talk to me, please.
Okay. So what I've just read out basically is painting a picture of what is happening in this world right now, which is basically there's a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all you got to do. Yeah. You get what I'm saying, Saad? So, Saad, what I'm saying is this. You don't have to read it. You just have to explain it in your own words.
Okay, sure. So, okay, thank you. And okay, fine. I accept that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, thank you. So yes, listeners. So what I'm saying really, the time we're living now, it is of uncertainty and it is of confusion. And help is always there, But the thing is, how do you ask for that help, or how do you get access to this help? So the topic for tonight, we've said spiritual bread. Gregory's, let's say the question I've been asking him, he's been explaining that we are a human being who is basically consisting of a human spirit. That's what we are, living on this earth with our physical body. And we need spiritual bread. That's what we need to live spiritually, you can say. Yes, we need the physical bread as well, to live, of course, for our daily life, but we also need the spiritual bread. And the spiritual bread, obviously, is not material. The thing is, because of the time of this uncertain confusion, most people have clue how to act. They're not even aware that they're a spirit. That's one biggest thing. And also, they don't know where, they need that spiritual bread, how they can get access to it. So in the Grail message, we are, let's say, given the way to access it. But then we also have to understand that language. So maybe what I read was not clear as I would have liked it to be. So the language may not, did not, let's say, because it was not my words. I admit to that. These are not my words. This is somebody else's words. But the aim of these words is to open us up.
Right, Saad. So what you're saying there, yeah, what you're saying is there's a point. It wasn't your words, and when it was coming over to me, I felt like, yo, that's not your words. That's not the brother that I know. You understand?
Sure.
And this is what we're getting at. People tend to rely on other people's words instead of the word of God that is in you. Let the spirit of truth speak for itself within you. Yeah. When brother Gregory comes on, Gregory, are you there?
Hello.
Right. Are you hearing what I'm saying, Gregory?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear what I'm saying, Gregory?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Thanks.
Right. So do you see what I'm saying? Because either you agree or disagree with what I'm saying. But I'm just trying to make a point that, and I would like to hear your point of view of what I've just said.
Your point is well recorded and is very pertinent.
Yeah.
Because in this forum,
yeah,
questions must be asked.
Yeah.
And that which we ourselves are convinced of must be expressed.
Yeah.
For whoever has received must make use of it and explain to others. So whoever receives must make use of it and pass it on to others. If you do not explain clearly, then you really are not convinced, or you really do not understand what you have received. So in a step-by-step manner, one should be able to find simple examples to explain that which animates him or her.
So the time we're living in now, how would you explain what we should do to prepare ourselves for what's coming?
The times we are living in are times of turbulence in all certainty.
Yeah.
And therefore, in order to be able to survive these times of turbulence,
yeah,
one needs to know the truth. Which truths are the laws through which everything has come into existence?
Okay.
And therefore, knowing what the truth is, we will now know how to navigate our paths such that that which would have crushed us will pass by us. Or, on the other hand, that which would have crushed us will strengthen us, whatever sort of turbulence that may be. Take, for instance, if you have an aircraft, if the aircraft is going through turbulence and is not strong enough, it will shatter in mid-air. If, however, that aircraft has been designed so very well, whenever turbulence comes, it will go through it without any problem. That aircraft I'm referring to is basically our thoughts, our intuitive thoughts. How do we use it to navigate our paths in these turbulent times? And that is where the topic of today comes in. That which should animate us in the turbulent times, that which will refresh us in these turbulent times, and that which will throw light on everything. It is the truth. It is the light that each personality must allow to come to the fore, such that that personality can go forward confidently and without any fear.
Brother Saad,
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, go on.
did you hear that?
I did.
Now,
Yeah.
so what we're going to go back to you now, Brother Saad.
Okay.
From what
All
you
right.
what you can see, what's going on now, yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Right. I'd like you to just continue your show. What is the topic of your show today?
It's called Spiritual Bread Refreshes, Truth Revitalizes, and Light Animates.
No, that's too long.
Okay.
That's not a topic. That is a sentence.
Well, you're right. It is a sentence.
Right. Now, because of the sentence you've brought to the surface, I'd like to explain why. Because it's a big sentence, so there's a reason why you've compiled such a big topic.
I have.
So can you
Yeah.
please explain why you've done
Why?
this?
Yes. Well, what I normally do in any topic that we do is go through the words of that topic. So whatever the topic is. So like let's say at Easter we said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
So we would go through all the words. So here in this case we got spiritual bread. So
Yeah.
I did at the beginning of the show we did talk about what is spiritual bread.
Yeah.
And actually we want to, in a way we want to talk about spiritual bread refreshes. So that was the aim of me reading that, but maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, you
And
slow
then the
down a
next
bit,
part-
bro.
yeah.
Start. Slow down a bit. You got time. Relax, my friend.
Okay, fine. So then, so the next thing was truth revitalizes.
Yeah,
So we would talk about what is the truth.
yeah,
How do you know that what is truth?
yeah.
And then the second or the last part is light animate. So
Okay.
what does that mean? What is light?
All right. So, what,
how does it animate?
Right,
So,
so-
that's basically
Go on.
the idea of this show.
okay. So what we're doing, basically, this show is in 3 or 4 parts. Then, yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So what part are we at now? So we can we can cover all parts.
I will go back to Gregory to confirm. Are you happy, Gregory? We've talked quite sufficiently on spiritual bread now. Or you want to say something more on that?
Hello?
Hello, Gregory. Did you hear me?
Could you repeat it, please?
You need
Yes,
to turn
what
your
I'm saying
mic up,
is-
Gregory. Gregory, turn your mic up, please.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. So, Gregory,
Okay.
what I was saying is that the topic for tonight is spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. And in the first part of this show so far, we have been looking at spiritual bread, right?
Yes.
I just want to ask you to sort of continue. Do you think we have covered that enough now, and should we move on to the other part of the topic?
Well, basically, one should have little summaries on spiritual bread, and then a little summary or explanation on truth revitalizes, and a little discussion on light animates. That's the way I personally understand it.
Yep.
Before using that as a framework, as a basis, many other digressions or questions may be asked.
Yes.
That's my little sensing.
Okay. So I think we have covered spiritual bread so far in our discussion. I don't know if I need to really summarize it. All I would say it, we are a spiritual being, and because we are a spiritual being, we need, just like a physical being needs to eat physical food, a spiritual being needs to eat spiritual food. In other words, spiritual bread. So, but the spiritual bread is not material like the physical world is. So, for this first part of the show was to let us know that is necessary for us to have spiritual bread or spiritual food. And this spiritual bread, basically, you could say, is as Gregory's mentioned, basically is knowledge of life, the spiritual knowledge of life. That is what the bread or food that the spirit needs. It needs that, and the way it can receive that, it needs to use its spiritual abilities. And one of the spiritual abilities is the intuition, the inner voice of the spirit. And if you listen to your inner voice, then you will be allowed to receive, or you can receive this spiritual food. And I think we also mentioned, just to summarize really, in the world we live today, which is of confusion and uncertainty, what has happened is man has sort of overused his intellect, which is the brain, you could say the physical brain, or if I were to be more specific, I would say the frontal brain, which is the more thinking brain, let's say. And then there's also the back brain, which is the spiritual brain. So don't want to go into all the specifics of it, but basically we have the frontal brain or the intellectual brain has become more dominant at the expense of the back brain, which is the spiritual brain. And it means the spirit is not able to be active as it should be. There should be a balance. Everything is meant to be in harmony. So the back brain and the frontal brain should be working together in harmony. And that, unfortunately, is not how we have been acting on earth. We overuse our intellect, and that has become so dominant, we don't listen to our intuition anymore. That is what has happened. So no wonder we can't receive the spiritual bread that we need. We can eat the physical bread all the day, every day we eat that, but we don't take in the spiritual bread, which is what is essential. You know, everything is needed. All of these things are needed, but without the spiritual bread, you know, there's no way. Let's say you're like a how can I say, out of control missile. You know, the real driver is not there, and that is meant to be the spirit. So hopefully, I think I've covered everything there in these few words, and I think I would like to move on to the next part of the title, which is truth. Truth revitalizes. So, whoop. Okay, somebody's calling. Let me just see. Is the listener is calling? Hello, listener.
Yes.
You want?
Mena, can I make a contribution?
Yes, I'm going to put you on loudspeaker now, so you can go ahead.
Okay.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Saad, who is that? Who's calling? And what's their name? Where they're calling from?
He asks this.
Yeah,
What this spiritual bread you talk about? In what form?
What form?
Yeah.
Okay. So the listener is called Mena, and he's asking, what is the spiritual bread that I'm talking about? What form is it? So, Gregory, could you answer that? What form is the spiritual bread?
Spirit is energy. And therefore, the only form that the spirit may be used to, may be referred to, is energy. Any other form may not connote precisely what spirit is. That energy envelope that seeks to be conscious, or that seeks to be self-conscious, that is of spirit.
Okay. Maybe, Mena, did you hear that? Okay, I think he's not able to come back to us. So I think, thanks, Gregory. I think he'll come back if he needs to ask further on that. He's coming back. Yeah, go on, Mena.
It seems if energy, it has to. Yes, I'm listening. The spiritual bread which you're talking about still doesn't look substantial. Doesn't look. I mean, it has to be in the form of a substance. You know, that actually gives me energy. Energy itself wouldn't be abstract.
Okay. I've got to your point. Let me go back to Gregory.
Yeah,
Gregory, I don't know if you were listening.
This spiritual energy or this spiritual food consists of.
Yes. Okay, I will tell that. I'll ask Gregory. Greg, I don't know if you heard any of that from Mena. Did you hear anything?
Well, I had the bits.
Let me put the question for you. So.
Yo. It's there, man.
Okay, all right. So, Greg, the question Mena is sort of a further question he's asking is, what exactly is the form? Because what you were saying is a bit abstract. Energy, it just sounds abstract. What form is this bread that we?
Hello?
Yeah. Sound.
Hello?
Hello. Okay. Yes. Can you?
Yo. You lot got a bag of noise going on there somewhere along the line. Right, at your end. One of you guys are making a load of background noise. Saad. Saad. Saad, brother Saad. Check it, 1, 2. Saad. Hello. Yo. Saad.
Hello?
Saad.
Hello? Just hold on a second, Gregory. Hold on.
Yo, Saad. Yeah, there's a lot of noise in the background going on, yeah? I don't know why.
There's the background noise in the background.
It's your end. Yeah, it's your end. Yeah. Yeah, that noise is coming from one of you guys.
I don't know what happened there.
No, the noise is coming from one of you. One of you guys is making that noise. Yeah, I don't know which one of you it is, but one of you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but one of you is making that noise.
The noise is so much that one really cannot speak. That's why I have to remain silent.
Yeah, but it's one of your connections is making that noise.
Something from our end, but I can't. I'm not quite sure why. But I will continue now. You can hear me okay now? Yes? Can you hear me fine?
Okay. So please let me make it. At the beginning, one used the word when spiritual bread was mentioned.
Yes.
One gave the analogy as you will have normal bread or earthly.
Yes.
That.
Carry on, Gregory.
And that gives us power, or that gives us energy.
Yes.
Can we say energy or strength or power? Is it abstract? When we eat our breakfast, all right, which consists of bread or of grains and things like that, does not that give us the strength or the power to carry on with our activities?
Yep.
So, if one uses strength, power, energy, just to connote what we have when we eat our bread, our earthly bread,
yes,
one may use the same thing in the case of this, spiritual bread. One will say it gives us the strength. It gives the strength or the spirit for its continuous activities, or to use it more clearly, for its daily activities.
Yes, I think that does help, Gregory, because obviously physical bread is physical and spiritual bread is spiritual. So, and the form has to be different, what is physical, than the non-physical or spiritual.
Yes.
So
just add to it, the physical bread is temporal,
right,
whereas the spiritual bread continues. It's not something which is a temporary thing, and it strengthens you. It gives you the power. And without the strength, without the power, how can one function, even in the physical or in the non-physical?
This is not making no sense. Right, so what is the bread of life then?
Thank you for that. And
hold on. May I ask?
The other parts of the topic tonight, which is truth revitalizes and light animates. I would like to now move on to that.
Hold on, Saad, brother Saad.
The obvious question is, what is truth? What is truth, Gregory?
Basically, truth is that which does not change in its form or has never changed. And it remains the same yesterday, today, and forever. Therefore, the truth in its expression are the laws of nature or the laws of creation, or to make it more explicitly clear, truth is only an expression or the expressions of the will of Him that let creation come into existence.
Thank you for that.
Yes, Saad.
Question automatically from that is, how can we know something, recognize this truth?
Hello, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, bless.
Right, I got a question. Yeah, this bread. What are you talking about?
Well, we were going to move on, but if you want to continue.
No. It wasn't making much of us. I thought, but what is the bread of life?
The bread of life.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I'm going to give it back to Gregory.
Gregory, what is the bread of life? What is the bread of life?
The bread of life is that which gives the strength to the spirit.
Yeah, but what is it? What is it? What is it? Is it the word? Is it a physical food? Is it a spiritual food? Is it something that you have to intake? What is the bread of life? Is the Bible the bread of life?
Life itself can not be referred to as material. Therefore, one has to refer to as spiritual. And the strength which the spirit needs, that very clearly is the bread of life. An expression of the bread of life is the word. This word which is talked about is the living will of the Almighty.
Okay.
So when carefully, I'm afraid I have to join the three of them.
Yeah.
This triple, the power that streams out of the Almighty, that power does not stream in an arbitrary manner.
Mm-hmm.
It is streamed out in a lawful manner. That lawfulness is the truth. That truth never changes.
No, that's fine.
However,
that's fine. All I needed to know is what the bread of life was, and you said the bread of life is the word of God. More or less.
Bread, yes. What one is saying is that bread is not arbitrary. It's not done in an arbitrary manner. It is done in such a way that it follows certain rules. And life cannot be referred to as physical as such or material. Life itself, in a higher sense, is referring to that which transcends that which is temporal, which is the material world, and therefore is of spirit. For it is the spirit that is alive, not the physical body which was born, which will have to disintegrate. This physical body which undergoes evolution and dissolution, that which keeps things moving.
Okay.
So that's when you say I am talking, specifically you are referring to your spirit.
Yeah.
For it is spirit that lives. Take a very simple example where you have songs which came from the heart. By the heart, now I said from the spirit. These songs were played long time ago. A very popular one is those of Bob Marley. For goodness sake, these ones were played years ago, and yet they still transcend time. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. All these things you keep experiencing them. It tells you it transcends time. It's not temporal. It's been there, and it will be there for a very long time. And therefore, one may refer to as being spiritual, not that which is fleeting. As you will have many people want to attach themselves to drunkenness, which is fleeting, or eating so much food. These are fleeting things. But that which inspires you, which you can hold in times of turbulence, which strengthens you, that is a bread which life, in quote, life of the spirit needs for its continuity.
Thank you. Thank you, Gregory. And, you know, you're talking about truth, and Jesus said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the light, and no man comes to the Father but through me." So it sounded like very personal, as if you have to know Jesus before you can know God, even. And people think, oh, that means you must read the Bible or you must be a Christian. Some people think it that way. Could you sort of tell us more about that? Because, as I said, we've been, what you've said very clearly, things, you can't take things which, how can I say, just literally something is said, and that's, you really have to have a spiritual understanding about these things. So can you give us that picture of what Jesus meant by these words?
When the Lord spoke, "I am the truth," all right, no one comes to the Father except through me. He himself, being the personification of divine love, for whoever is able in his or her activities vibrates in love, not the earthly demanding love, the love which is so selfless, which is always prepared to give. Only in such a way can the human spirit that is striving to become self-conscious continue. So whoever follows the path which he has pointed out definitely will live forever as a spirit, and therefore he is the way. It doesn't mean that you must have known Jesus personally. However, through the laws through which every personality came into existence, as long as they are able to vibrate and come to recognition, then their paths will lead them to the eternal kingdom, which is referred to as paradise. There, they can carry out their activities, which is filled with flaming love and consideration. So it has nothing to do that, oh, unless I read the Bible or I do not read the Bible. It is that quality of behavior, that quality of concern, that quality of love, selfless love, just like he himself, being the personification of divine love, came all the way from all the glory here to show man the path. And whoever believes in him will follow the way that he has pointed out. And he gave the most beautiful example when he said, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." A very simple example. Look at the so-called COVID-19 that has been going around. When one part of the world had it, many other parts, they never bothered. If they had shown some consideration for their neighbors, which distance is immaterial, they would have gone to support. But many kept quiet. Before long, it visited them, just as it's visiting. Therefore, the words of Christ, love thy neighbor as thyself, is very pertinent now. Do you have to have read biblical scripts to know that? Do you have to read biblical scripts to support your neighbor who, like yourself, is striving for recognition? So the words of Christ must be interpreted in a spiritual manner.
Thank you so much, Gregory. Dear listeners, you're listening to Blessed Radio. This is the Tuesday night spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrusheen. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the Grail message or want some more information, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight, it is spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. I'll just say it again. Spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. And so far we have talked about the spiritual bread, and we have also now been focusing on the truth part of that topic. So, and you're welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us, our UK number is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, I want to, we can still talk about truth, but I think we can start bringing in light as well now. Light animates. So I think truth is, let's say, easier to recognize, and when you're now, okay, maybe I've got another listener calling, so just 1 second, please. Hello, listener. Hello, Smena. You have a question? 1 second. I'm going to put you. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Again, sorry. Gregory, Christ did say that, no one cometh to the Father except through me. That is actually under my. So it means that, whatever we do has to be something that has to be done through Christ. How do we understand that?
Okay, that's exactly the question I was asking. But maybe Gregory can recap it. Gregory, did you hear that question?
Yes, actually, we had already discussed that, saying that it is the Christ principle. It is the vibrations, love that he was referring to. Only those who do the will of his Father, all right, because he has come from the Father, so only those who follow the will of his Father can rise up. And he himself speaks of the Father. He gave the clear example, like is it the parable that he gave regarding when he was asked, and who is my neighbor? That expression, whoever follows that expression or follows that principle definitely will rise. Whereas those who do not follow that will not rise, because they will keep running round in circles. So the earlier explanations we give only throws light on this for many to have clarity. Above all, No matter how much explanations we give in this discussion, it is still not sufficient. And therefore, one will invite many to pick up the strength to examine the work itself, the work in the light of truth. There are two key things here: light and truth. These are what the human spirit, that by spirit one is referring to that which is supposed to be eternal, that which is striving to have self-consciousness. To have self-consciousness, you yourself must know of the light and must know of the truth. Only those two can guide the human spirit to the path to self-consciousness. Then one is able to resonate, and in resonating with the source is able to guide others. For whoever has received need to make use of what it has received for itself and then pass it on to others, be it in form of writing or in form of music, or even the simple respect that you grant to your neighbor. So much is there with the words of Christ that he offered to mankind, for he himself is the living love, and only through living love, not the selfish narrow-mindedness you find on earth, but that love that tends in all activities to be of help to all creatures, not some.
Thank you, Gregory. I'm going to. I want to get into the last part of the topic for tonight, which is light animates, and you have covered that, mentioned it there, and also I did mention at the beginning of the program. Um, um, the Grail message, the author of the Grail message, Abdushin, his birthday was on 18th of April, which is 10 days from today. 10 days ago it happened, and now this show was meant to be broadcast last week, and we couldn't do that. So we're doing the same topic tonight. We're actually doing the discussion tonight, and why I'm sort of pointing that out uh, uh, is that because people might be wondering, oh, we've been talking things from the Bible about Christ, and so what is the Grail message coming to do? What is it here to do? What is it bringing that, let's say, that Christ has not already brought? So Gregory, maybe you can help us with that. Why do we do this in a way? Why are we doing this show to introduce the Grail message, and then we talk about Christ and the knowledge that he brought?
The message, the Grail message, the discussion is only an introduction to the work. The sweetness of the pudding does not lie in the eating of the pudding. It means that you need to examine the work yourself. However, one will just give some glimpse. The works of Christ, the expressions he made or he gave, are explained further in all their depths and heights. Therefore, what one is referring to here is that the message throws light on the expressions, the true expressions that Christ gave to mankind, be it the Lord's Prayer or all that he discussed and gave to man. we'll find confirmation and correction from the distortions that have been woven around all this. However, never ever take one's word for it. You yourself must examine this work to find out if that is true. And it's only fair to give a bit of an introduction so that you may have an inkling that of what you are about to get into. The only certain thing one can grant is personal, that some of us have examined it and has found it useful. And for those who have found it useful, they have received. And it's only fair for some who have received, like in breathing in, they need to breathe out for the balance. But find time to examine this work for yourself and you can draw conclusions.
Thank you so much, Gregory. And I would like to now give listeners a sort of an opportunity to, let's say, find some references in the Bible which can also point to the time that we are going through. And so this is from John chapter 14, verse 15 to 21. So this is John chapter 14, verse 15 to 21. And the title here is given The Promise of the Holy Spirit. And this is Jesus speaking. If you love me, you will obey my commandments. I will ask the Father that he will give you another helper who will stay with you forever. He is the Spirit who reveals the truth about God. The world cannot receive him because it cannot see him or know him. But you know him because he remains with you and is in you. When I go, you will not be left all alone. I will come back to you. In a little while the world will see me no more, but you will see me. And because I live, you also will live. When that day comes, you will know that I am in my Father and that you are in me, just as I am in you. Whoever accepts my commandments and obeys them is the one who loves me. My Father will love whoever loves me. I too will love him and reveal myself to him. And there's some more I would like to read, sort of to give them, let's say, more, expand that. So this is also from John. This time it's chapter 15, verse 18 onwards. And this is sort of a bit of background. Again, it's Jesus speaking, and the title is titled here, "The World's Hatred." And it says, this is Jesus speaking. If the world hates you, just remember that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, then the world would love you as its own. But I chose you from this world, and you do not belong to it. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. No slave is greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you too. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours too. But they will do all this to you because you are mine, for they do not know the one who sent me. They would not have been guilty of sin if I had not come and spoken to them. As it is, they no longer have any excuse for their they have no longer any excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father also. They would not have been guilty of sin if I had not done among them the things that no one else ever did. As it is, they have seen what I did, and they hate me, both me and my Father. This, however, was bound to happen, so that what is written in their law may come true. They hated me for no reason at all. The Helper will come, the Spirit who reveals the truth about God and who comes from the Father. I will send him to you from the Father, and he will speak about me. And you too will speak about me, because you have been with me from the very beginning. I have told you this so that you will not give up your faith. You will be expelled from the synagogues, and the time will come when anyone who kills you will think that by doing this he is serving God. People will do these things to you because they have not known either the Father nor me. But I have told you this, so that when the time comes for them to do these things, you will remember that I told you. I'm reading the next bit, which is titled The Work of the Holy Spirit. I did not tell you these things at the beginning, for I was with you. But now I'm going to him who sent me, yet none of you asks me where I'm going. And now that I have told you, your hearts are full of sadness. But I'm telling you the truth. It is better for you that I go away, because if I do not go, the Helper will not come to you. But if I do go away, then I will send him to you. And when he comes, he will prove to the people of the world that they are wrong about sin and about what is right and about God's judgment. They are wrong about sin because they do not believe in me. They are wrong about what is right because I am going to the Father and you will not see me anymore. And they are wrong about judgment because the ruler of this world has already been judged. I have more to tell you, but now it would be too much for you to bear. When, however, the Spirit comes, who reveals the truth about God, he will lead you into all the truth. He will not speak on his own authority, but he will speak of what he hears and will tell you of things to come. He will give me glory because he will take what I say and tell it to you. All that my Father has is mine. That is why I said that the Spirit will take what I give him and tell it to you. So this is what I read from John chapter 15, verse 18, right into chapter John 16, and I went and finished at John 16, ending with verse 15. So that's the reference I wanted to point you to the listeners about the helper who Jesus said he would send to us, and that he will not, and he had to go away to the Father. So, Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say further on that?
One can only say that unless you yourself examine these words of Christ in a spiritual sense, then it may be very difficult for you to come to an understanding. However, whoever picks up the courage to look into those words and interpret them in the light of truth, understanding will come as a matter of course, followed by recognition.
Thank you. Now, I want to go back to the topic, the title of our topic. We've explained. So, if I'll just repeat that to the listeners, the topic for tonight, listeners, is spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. And I think we have talked about spiritual bread, truth, and light, but I want to also focus on the words which follow those words. So we said spiritual bread. In fact, in the Grail message, this is a quote we have taken from the Grail message, which actually says spiritual bread immediately refreshes. So let's focus on that, Gregory. Spiritual bread immediately refreshes. How can that? And also, when I was reading in the Grail message where that quote has come from, it talks about there are innumerable books which do not refresh and which offer stones for bread. So, Gregory, and so basically, let's say there's a lot of information out there in this world, and it's too much for anybody to sort of take it all in. But then, let's say we have to find a way to make sense of it, and to, let's say, take out what is useful and throw away what is useless. So this word spiritual bread refreshes. Can you tell us more what it means by refreshes? How does it work that the spiritual bread refreshes?
Well, it's been discussed many spiritual bread. That is vital for the continuity, for the existence of the human spirit. Whenever the human spirit is granted the power to continue to exist, then it's able to carry out its vital activities. Therefore, it immediately is able to sense that which is useful from that which is not so useful. And that is why it is said spiritual bread refreshes, for it is the power it needs. That is what keeps it alive. Without that, the spirit will go to sleep or will hunger. And in the earthly sense, the person who is hungry, going through the desert, how can that person continue his journey?
Thank you. And so I want to move on to the second part of the top title, which is Truth Revitalizes. So in a way, Gregory, what I'm pointing to is you can see, because in the quote I was reading, it was also mentioning people being offered stones for bread. So something that is meant to be what people are thinking is actually bread, but it's actually stone, which obviously is not useful. And what is useful is the bread. So we've talked on that already. So that is what is out there in this world. We talked about confusion and uncertainty. There's so much information out there, and only the useful one is what we need. But how do you detect that? Well, if it's good for you, it will refresh you. And if it's not, it will tire you. So I guess that is very, very easy to detect. So the next part of the title, the topic tonight, is Truth Revitalizes. Again, to me, these are all, like, if you're really taking it properly, it's sort of, how can I say, it's like there are signposts there in these words, but it's like very, very simple and clear that this is how you can detect if something is good for you or useful or not useful. And so that's the point of the title, to direct us to see if something is true or not true, or if something is helpful or not helpful. And if it is spiritual bread, useful, then it will uplift, it will refresh. And then there's truth, we say revitalizes. So the word there, Gregory, is revitalizes. So what is it in the truth that makes us revitalize? The word vitalize, but revitalize. So it's like we somehow, I'll let you answer that.
Well, one can easily see that the word revitalize is like something is being granted to you to strengthen you. Something like being cyclic. And although you were vitalized initially, but something which revitalizes you grants you that which is extra. So it is the extra which the truth adds to it. That is what revitalizes. In this sense, the truth in the spiritual sense is that which does not change. And the truth, basically, one may refer to are the expressions, the laws of creation or the laws of nature. Whenever nature is mentioned, many a person feels liberated, wish to be natural, doesn't want to be constrained. So the word nature or the laws of nature, every living being, human being, wishes to sort of harmonize with the laws of nature. So nature as we know it, when you go through the season, it's as if it revitalizes. So on a seasonal basis, on a cyclic basis, nature, once we swing with nature, revitalizes. The way it gives us fruits at different times. All right, we go through winter, we have autumn, we have summer. So one can see that the laws of nature made that possible. And that is how the human spirit or the human body here is revitalized. So in a higher sense, truth always revitalizes because it is like a map that shows you the whole structure of creation and shows you how things are so that you can go forward very courageously.
Thank you. And as I said, the last part of the topic title tonight is Light Animates. So how does that happen? You talked about the truth bringing the, basically talking about the laws. The truth works with the laws. So and how does light work? It says light animates. So it sounds like our life comes through the light. So can you talk a bit more about that?
Actually, when the word light is mentioned, the picture one sees is that which affects the physical eyes. However, we all know that plants, when they grow, all these that are striving for growth, they point towards the light, not towards the darkness. So if one has that picture, that which is growing is always pointing towards the light, as we have in plants, as we have in human beings, and light itself gives the strong impression of daylight, in quotes. Then it calls for activities, which activities we may refer to as animation, motion, movement. Therefore, in short, one may say light animates. What animates is what lies behind the light, which is the power, the living power. So if one is to consider the whole expression, the power which comes through the bread, and then the light on the one hand, and the truth on the other hand, they form the triad upon which everything rests.
Thank you, Gregory. We've basically come to the end of our show tonight, listeners. Hope you enjoyed the topic, which was spiritual bread refreshes, truth revitalizes, and light animates. And what I would say, there's a lot of, and Gregory, how you ended this very beautifully with talking about the triad of the three, if I can use the elements there. you could say there was a lot of things concentrated in these words, which had to be teased out or teased out to actually go through the. It is just so much in there that you cannot immediately understand what it absorb what it means. So, in a way, we were trying to bring that out in our show tonight, and of course, the aim of the show is the knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message. Introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdul Shane. So hopefully we've given you a taste of that, and we obviously encourage you to examine it for yourself. Greg, I'm going to let you speak to say goodbye to the listeners, and then I'm going to sort of say my few words.
One may always say, seek diligently after the truth and light, and the truth and light will set you free inwardly. Then one is able to face whatever turbulence may assail.
Checky, 1, 2.
Okay. So, dear listeners, we'll be back next Tuesday as usual from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with another topic. Hope you can join us. Hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Just want to let you know that there are being Bible readings are being played on the Bless Extra website alongside the Bless Radio. So you're welcome to listen to that. Just tell your friends that also that is happening. So as usual, listeners, if you're able to, we hope you can join us next week. Really great to have you with us tonight. This is Saad signing off, and I wish everybody a great week. God bless, and hopefully Siam is coming up next. All the best, everybody. Take care.
Okay, checky, 1, 2. Can you hear me, Saad?
I can, yeah.
All right. For the listeners that are listening, we'll be playing the Bible. It's not the ordinary Bible. It's another version of the Bible, but it tells you the childhood of Christ and his upbringing and all these kind of things. So basically, because there is no church going on, there's no congregation, all of that, we decided to play the Bible on the same website, www.blessradio.co.uk, and you press Bless Extra. You'll be hearing the Bible most of the days or every day. If you're not hearing it straight away, it will come on at some point. Just to give you some word of encouragement, we're also going to be putting in some of the Grail message as well, because Brother Saad is going to give us some of the pre-recording in it, Saad.
Yes.
Of the Grail message. So we'll be putting some of those in at some point as well, so that you can get some words of encouragement while you are in your house going through this time that we're going through. Okay? That's it.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Bless.
Yeah. So, that's it, my brother.
Yes. Thank you.
And up next, we got a guy, Brother Sayomi.